So
Awesome.
welcome everyone. And again, for those of you, some of you have heard this already, but my name's Kimber and I'm one of the Chasky coaches. So um, I do the run coaching side of things as well. I have a variety of coaching experience. I've helped coach at University of Oregon for a long time. I've also coached post-collegiates like elites as well as community level athletes. But I really love the strength and conditioning side of things. And so I have my strength and conditioning certification. And for me, in the running world, strength is usually focused. Number one goal is injury prevention. So making our bodies durable so that we can run more, run harder, and not have injuries. Number two is improving running economy. So having the right strength and stability can actually make us faster. So that's kind of goal number two with strength. And then goal number three is building power and just overall strength that also can contribute to our running performance. We're going to be really focused on those first two goals tonight. So as we get started, again, grab whatever equipment you have available, your physio ball, mini band if you have it. If you have any little weights, you can bring those along with you as well. And like I mentioned, if you want to get some music on, feel free to do that. You're kind of your own DJ tonight. And I know some of you are joining us for the whole 6 weeks. Some of you are just here tonight to test things out. And so I'll just tell you that this will be a little sampling, but every week's going to kind of build on itself. So I'll be teaching you lots of new things tonight, but each week we'll kind of learn new things and we'll make things maybe a little harder, a little more challenging. We'll try some different types of exercise routines. So some that are maybe a little more circuit based, some that are a little bit more stability and technique based. So just know this is a little sampling. But after the class, you can expect an email from us that has one, it will have the video link for this recording. Two, it will have the link for how to sign up. So if you've signed up just for the free class tonight and you decide you want to join for the remaining 5 weeks, we'll make sure we let you know how to do that at the end. As we get started, I want you to keep in mind that I can't see everyone and what all of you are doing, so it will be your job to modify things as we go. So pay attention to yourself and your own body. I always promote doing things well rather than making them too hard. So I will try to give cues that allow you to make something either easier or harder, depending on which you need. But just know that the ways that you can pretty much always modify any exercise, number one is go through a smaller range of motion. So just keep that range of motion smaller. Number two is less reps. So if you need to just do a few and then take a break, then that's fine as well. Number three would be if we're doing something dynamic, you can also just do a hold. So trying to just kind of own one position of the exercise that we're doing. And as we go, as Ty mentioned, he's kind of like our MC tonight. He's going to be monitoring the chat. You won't be able to unmute yourselves, but we really encourage you to use the chat. If you have questions, like if I go through something too fast and you're like, whoa, can you repeat that? Or if you have a question specifically about how to do something or how to modify something, feel free to type those things into the chat, and then Ty can kind of yell those things out to me and I can go through things again. So feel free to use the chat function to do that. All right, so as we get started, plan for today, we're going to start with a little warm up. It's just going to be kind of in place here. Then we're going to go into a little bit of hip strength, a little core. I'll teach you some new core exercises and really get the core and hips warmed up. And then we'll go into one circuit that'll be kind of like going through a few different exercises twice through. We'll see how much time we have. Things we might do at the end would be some balance and stability and or some stretching. So again, feel free to ask questions as we go, but when you're ready, go ahead and find your way up to standing, and we're going to start in with our warm-up. So sorry if you can't see my head, but most important is for you to be able to see my body. But here we go. So to start off with warm-up, we're going to just go lunges in and out. So just like this, going in and out. As you go, see if you can get a good push back. So really starting to warm up those muscles. And you notice I'm trying to stay nice and balanced. So I could pause and be balanced. So those are things to be working on as we warm up. Next, we're going to go into a knee to chest. So stand up nice and tall. You're going to hug that knee in. If if you can't quite do that, it's okay to also just do a little bit of marching, but knee to chest, taking a step forward each time. As we do this, really try and keep that chest up. Knee comes to your chest, so try not to drop down. We want to stay up tall. When we're running, we want to be tall. Now we're going to go a little quad stretch, so kick your heel up towards your butt and then kick out behind you. If you can't quite grab your foot, it's also okay to just kick your foot up behind you as well. We're going to keep this dynamic, so with our warm-up, we want to be moving through, not holding anything too long. And next, we're going to go into a light hamstring stretch. I want you to keep a bend in your knee and then lead with your chest and move through. So lead with your chest, keep a bend in that knee, take a couple steps forward. This should be just taking us through that range of motion. We're not trying to get a really deep stretch here, just loosening up. And then let's go nice wide stance. We're going to go lateral lunge, so nice wide stance. And we're going to push our hips back into the side and then come back through center and to the other side. This should give us a stretch down the inside of our legs. That's called our adductors. So just shifting back and forth. Keep it gentle. All right, from there, come on up to standing. We're going to do arm circles forward. And then arm circles backward. And across in front. And then we're going to go hip circles. This one might feel a little bit weird, but we're going to bend into our hips and into our knees like we're doing a little hula hoop. Trying to just loosen up those hips a little bit. Let's switch directions. All right, and then come on up to standing. We're going to do ABCs with our ankles. So from here, you're going to get single leg balance. If you need to hold on to something, feel free to do that. From here, with your ankle, you're just going to write the ABCs. I want you to try to be really intentional with this. So trying to really control that movement. So you are telling your ankle where you want to move, and it's really following where you're telling that movement to happen. So this is neuromuscular control. It's also helping us just loosen up those ankles. So go all the way through your ABCs, all the way to Z. Really being intentional about that movement. Once you get finished on that other side, shake it out a little bit and we'll switch sides. I'm going to show you from the side here as we do this. So go ahead and balance on one leg. Make sure you're not sitting back or down. We want to be up tall. So when we're running, we want to be up and tall. So same thing on this side. Go ahead and do your ABCs. And start slow until you can really control that movement. I know for me, there's always one side that's a little bit harder than the other. It's good to notice that, and maybe that's something to just be more focused on as we go. So when you finish on the other side, take as long as you need, shake that out a little bit, and we're just gonna go one more time through those warm-ups. Then we're gonna go on to hip and core to continue to warm up, but then really move into our workout. So back to our lunges, so lunges in and out. Think about pushing back. If you want to do walking lunges where you continue walking forward, that's fine. Really working on that stability and balance, trying to control your movement. Let's get a couple more. All right, come on up to standing. We're gonna go knee to chest. So stand up tall, hug that knee in. If you want to come up onto your toes, you can do that if you're feeling balanced. Remember, we're trying to stay tall, so keep that chest up and forward. All right, let's go quad stretch. So keep that foot up behind you, and then try kicking it out a little bit. Try and keep that knee underneath your hip. trying not to let it come out to the side. We want to keep it underneath our body. And then we're going to go into our hamstring stretch. So remember, keep a bend in that knee. Lead with your chest and move through. These types of dynamic warm-up exercises are also good for after a run. I oftentimes will do these right after I finish a run, just to try to maintain some mobility. All right, let's go lateral lunge. So nice wide stance, and we're going to push our hips back and to the side. With this, you may also notice, oh, one side's maybe more tight than the other. Those are things to just notice and maybe spend some time foam rolling or stretching those areas. All right, come on up to standing. Let's go arm circles forward and backward and across in front. Let's go hip circles. So feet are about hip width apart. We'll bend into hips and into knees. Draw that circle. And let's switch directions. All right, from here, we're going to go into our hip strength. A lot of times I would use a band like this for some of our hip strength. So if you have that band, you can bring that nearby. For this first one, if you want to put a band on, you can put that band around your ankles or up above your knees. If you don't, I'm going to do it without a band, so you don't need a band for this. We're going to do, I call this abduction, which means that we're going to put a tiny bend in our knees, and we're going to take one foot out and back behind us at about a 45-degree angle. So that looks like this, out and back behind us at a 45-degree angle. We're trying to get the gluteus medius, which is the lateral part of the glute. So let's shoot for between 15 and 20. Again, this could be with a band or without. And as you do this, even if you don't have a band on, we should still feel that gluteus medius doing the work. We want to be controlled with this movement. So not arching out through our back. We want that hip to be the place where the movement is coming from. So somewhere between 15 and 20. If you're having a hard time with balance, your hand could be on a couch or a wall or a chair. But if you can do this without that, it's going to help on the balance side of things. Let's get a few more. So again, we're shooting for between 15 and 20. Sometimes when we do these things together, I'll go by time. Today, I'm mostly going to just give you reps and keep moving through. Sometimes we'll increase the intensity by going for time and moving through more quickly. Okay, other side, little bend into those knees, and then that foot is going to come out and back behind you at a 45-degree angle. Again, really trying to use that gluteus medius, the lateral part of the glute. If you have a band on, you're probably really starting to feel that working now. As you do this, remember we want to be controlled, so controlled on the way out and controlled on the way in. Especially if you have a band on, controlling on the way in will be a little bit more challenging as well. All right, get a couple more in and then we're going to go on to our next one. All right, next one's going to be a standing fire hydrant. This one can also be done from kneeling, so at some point I'll teach you kneeling as well. We call this one fire hydrant. It's kind of silly, but it's because it's kind of like a dog's like peeing on a fire hydrant. But from here, we're going to bend into our knees and into our hips. You might want your hand on something for a little bit of balance. We're going to kick one foot up behind us and then go into a little bit of hip extension. So notice my knee is back behind me. And then I'm going to open that knee to the side and then back in. If you can take your hand away from the wall or whatever you're holding on to, feel free to do that. If you're using a band, that band should be up above your knees. And again, we're going to shoot for 15 or 20. Keep going. I'm going to just show you from the front what this looks like. So from the front, I'm here, and that knee is opening out to the side. So my chest and my belly button stay facing forward. All the movement is coming around my hip. And same thing, we're trying to be nice and controlled. So controlling on the way out, but then also controlling on the way in. As you do this, you're going to start to feel more of the gluteus max, that like kind of larger part of the glute starting to work. So we're shooting for 15 or 20, but I know we're all going at different paces. So let's go ahead and switch sides. So stand up, shake it out a little bit. Other side, we're going to bend into knees and into hips a little bit, kick that foot up behind us, go into a little bit of hip extension, and then open out to the side. So again here, shoot for 15 or 20, and really try and focus on all that movement coming around the hip. My belly button and my chest stay facing forward, and I'm controlling on the way out and on the way in. Good work, let's get a few more. Second side always is a little bit more challenging because that other side is fatigued, and we're really working both hips at the same time here. All right, let's come up to standing. This next one, I call this one half moon rotations. There's probably lots of other names for it, but with this one, we are going to hinge forward. So maybe just watch me first. So I'm going to hinge forward. I'm going to keep a bend in my knee because my hamstrings are not flexible enough to allow me to do this without that. And I'm going to think about getting long through that back leg and also getting long through my spine. So I don't want to be arched through my spine this way or hunched over. I want a long line from my head to my heel. And from here, I'm also going to push through that foot that's on the ground. And I'm going to either hold here. If this feels like enough of a challenge for you, you can hold here. I'm going to try and keep my hips parallel to the ground. If you want to add a little bit to this, go ahead and put your hand on the lower part of your back. Keep that lower spine long. And then we're going to open, rotating around that hip that's on the ground, and then close. Open and close. If you can do this without holding on to something, then feel free to do that. That's great. But this one is going to help us with, there's these little muscles called the multifidi around your spine, as well as your hip of the leg that's connecting with the ground here. So again, shoot for between 10 and 20. This one can start to feel pretty challenging as we get up into that 10 or 15 range. Really, again, thinking about all the movement is coming from that hip. So I'm rotating around the head of my femur or around that hip. Again, the alternative to this would just be to hold in this position here. So if this is enough for you, you can just practice holding, maybe taking your hand off of that thing that you're holding on to. Let's go ahead and come on up and switch sides. If you feel like you've got a few more on that side, feel free to continue. So on this other side, same thing here. We're going to hinge forward, reach long with that back leg, try and get those hips square with the ground. And you're either going to hold here, or hand is going to come to your lower back. That's just to remind you to keep your spine long. And then we're going to open and close. Open and close. So here we're getting, again, hip as well as the stabilizers of our low back. And we're also getting some stability at the ankle and a little bit of core in there as well. So again, we'll shoot for between 10 and 20. And you can either be moving dynamically like I am, or if you want to just hold here, really think about pushing through that foot that's on the ground. And we're going to start to feel that hip working. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. All right, when you're ready, come on up to standing. We are going to go to the floor now for a couple more hip strength exercises, and then we're going to move into our more core ab work. So from here, I want you to come onto your back. So we're on the floor, we're on our back. I want your feet to come in pretty close to your butt. Feet are about hip width apart, and we're going to come up into a bridge. So get your spine long. My back is kind of flat against the ground, and then I'm going to come up into a bridge here. Make sure you don't go too high that you're arching through your low back, but not so low that we're not really doing any work. We want to come up so our hips are doing the work. Now we're keeping it there. If this is enough for you, you can hold here. But what I want to challenge you to do is bring one leg up off the ground into kind of 90 degrees of hip flexion. This is going to mimic our running motion. And then what I want you to do is, so my right knee is up. So bring that right knee up off the ground. And then I'm going to push through my left foot. And I'm going to push as if I'm trying to send my head that way towards the wall. So I'm going to push that way. So not pushing straight up, but really thinking about pushing that direction. And I should feel, so I'm pushing through my left foot, and I feel my left glute really working, really firing. When we run, we want that. That's going to help us with hip extension. So using our big, strong glute muscles to power us forward, to power us up hills. And we're holding, keep pushing. It's going to start to get more challenging, but keep holding. Remind yourself to breathe. Let's hold for about 10 more seconds. Keep pushing that head towards the wall. Push through that left heel. All right, let's bring that right foot to the ground, and we're going to switch sides. So weight goes onto the right foot. We bring that left knee up off the ground. Push through the right foot like you're pushing your head towards the wall. Push really strong. Keep that hip flexed at about 90 degrees. And we should really start to feel that work in our right hip. So again, this is mimicking what I would call sort of a running gait. In future weeks, I'll show you how to also bring a little bit of ab work into this, so we can add a little bit to it to get a little bit more complete gait mechanics going with this one. So again, keep pushing through that right foot, keep breathing. We're gonna hold for about 10 more seconds. All right, come on down. If you have your physio ball, I want you to grab that physio ball. If you don't have a physio ball, your shoulders are just gonna stay on the ground. That's perfectly fine. So without a physio ball, just pretend like my shoulders are on the ground instead of on the physio ball. If you do have that ball, you're just gonna come up into your bridge on that physio ball. Without a physio ball, just bridge on the ground like we were doing. From here, bring your fingers to the ground. That's just gonna give you a little bit of help with balance. We're gonna do marches here. So we're gonna be alternating. Right knee comes up, then left. With this one, the ultimate goal is to be able to do it without your hands on the ground, but we want to start by giving ourselves a little bit of help. Really think about keeping those hips up, so don't let one hip drop as you switch sides. Let's see if you can do about 10 marches on each leg, trying to get no shift. We're trying to really keep that trunk stable. So you're going to feel your abs working, and you're going to feel those hips working as well. Little marches, think about landing on your heel, not on your toe. Keep those hips up, keep the hips level. Keep breathing. Good work. Keep reminding yourself to keep those hips up. No shift from side to side as you bring one foot up off the ground. Let's get a few more. All right, come on down. We're gonna move into a little bit of core while we're here, and just for the sake of time, but I might come back and go through those again. But remember, we did our abduction, our fire hydrant, we did our half moon rotations, then we did a single leg bridge hold, and then a bridge march. Okay, from here, we're gonna go into a little bit of core work. I want you to keep that physio ball if you have it. If you don't have a physio ball, you're just gonna pretend, like visualize in your head that there's a physio ball here, and that is great. The physio ball just gives us an external cue. So physio ball is gonna go between the fronts of your legs and the backs of your arms. And I'm gonna squeeze together. So before I go anywhere, I want toes up in dorsiflexion. We want that for running. So toes up in dorsiflexion. And then I'm gonna pull my knees and my elbows together. As I do that, that's gonna bring my back flat against the ground. So before we go anywhere, I want us to get good at this position. So get that back flat against the ground, squeeze those knees and elbows together into that physio ball. And I want you to just try and breathe here for about 10 seconds. This might be challenging enough. So for some of us, we're just gonna hold here. As we do this, I want you to think about pushing your belly button to the ground. So it's kind of like I'm trying to push my belly button towards the ground and really get my back flat against the ground. So let's hold for a couple more breaths. And we're gonna build on this, but if this is enough for you, then you can just stay here, hold, take a break, hold, take a break. If you're ready to add to it, we're just gonna start with arms. So I'm just gonna go one arm at a time as coming off that physio ball and then back in. Other arm and back in. As you do this, you gotta remind yourself to keep pulling tight into that ball and keep your back flat. Keep breathing. When we're running, we have to be able to keep our abs engaged, but also keep breathing. So we want to remind ourselves to do that. Let's get a few more. Remind yourself again, get that back flat, push your belly button towards the floor. All right, that's good. Come on down. We're going to come back to that one and we're going to add legs in just a minute. But from here, I want us to flip to our side. So from our side, this one I call baby star. So some of you who've worked with me before have done this one, but it's really good for core as well as hips and putting those things together. So I want you to get a straight line like we're gonna do a side plank, and then I'm gonna bend my knees to 90 degrees. Look down, make sure your knees, hips, and shoulders are all in a straight line, and my elbow is underneath my shoulder. If that elbow's up too high, it won't feel very good on your arm. So elbow underneath your shoulder, come on up into your little side plank. Again, make sure you have that straight line. So for a lot of us, that means we need to bring our hips forward a little bit more. From here, we should already feel my abs are working on this lower side. Then I'm gonna bring this top leg up off the ground. So from here, top leg is lifted, and then I'm gonna push it back behind me a little bit, just a little bit back behind me so I feel that gluteus medius working. I don't want the front of my hip, the TFL, to be working. I want that gluteus medius. So we're just gonna hold here. Again, remind yourself to breathe. We're gonna go for about 30 seconds. If you want to, this one's a pretty challenging one, so if you're having a hard time, feel free to take a break by just bringing that leg down. With this one, this is again really good for running mechanics because we're getting opposite the obliques on this side and the abductors of the hip on this side, which when we're running, that helps stabilize our pelvis. We're gonna go for about 10 more seconds. Keep breathing, keep holding. Make sure that leg is staying up and back behind you. All right, come on down, let's switch sides. You can just roll over to that other side. Same thing, get that long straight line. So long straight line, bend those knees to 90 degrees. Take a look, are my knees, hips, and shoulders in a straight line? Come on up into your little side plank. Make sure those hips are forward. Abs are engaged on that bottom side, and then I'm gonna lift the top leg, and then I'm gonna push it back behind me a tiny bit so I feel that gluteus medius, not my TFL on the front, the part that's on the back side. And I'm just gonna hold there. It's always harder on the second side because this side that's on the ground is now a little bit fatigued, so it's gonna be challenging on this side. We've got about 20 seconds left. Keep holding, keep breathing. Remind yourself to keep those hips forward. Keep that top leg up and back behind you. We've got about 10 seconds. Keep breathing. All right, come on down, flip to all fours. So knees are under your hips, hands are under your shoulders. I call this one knee taps. If you have any wrist issues and this doesn't feel good to you, then you're just gonna go with a plank on your forearms. So that's a good alternative to this. So feel free to go plank from forearms. But if your wrists can handle this, we're gonna make sure my knees are under my hips, my hands are under my shoulders. I'm gonna tuck my toes, and then I'm gonna hover my knees just a couple inches off the ground. You might not even be able to tell, but right now my knees are off the ground. From here, I want you to think about like you're wearing a corset and you want to tighten that corset up. So we're tightening through our belly button. And before we go anywhere, I just want you to engage those abs. Your arms might get tired, your legs might get tired, but we really want to focus on the core. From here, we're going to start to tap our knees to the ground. We're just going to go slow and controlled. So we're gonna go down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up. We're gonna go 5 more, down and up, down and up, down and up. 2 more, down and up, down and up. And I want you to hold. Just hold, remind yourself to breathe. Keep holding. 2, 1, come on down. That one always feels a little bit weird at first, but that one's for what's called the transverse abdominis, which goes this way. And that's important for trunk stability. It helps to make sure we minimize the risk of back and hip injuries, but it also helps with running economy. So throughout each of the weeks, we're gonna progress on that one. We're gonna add different movements. That one's a really good one. All right, from there, we're gonna do what I call tripod plank. So we're just gonna do a few more core exercises here, and then we're gonna go into a circuit where we're gonna bring a couple of these back in. So tripod plank, I want you to make a little diamond or a triangle, and it's gonna go right underneath your chest. So we're gonna be in a plank position, it's gonna be right underneath your chest. As we go, make sure that diamond does not start to move up towards your forehead or up above your head. That makes it too easy, so keep it right underneath your chest or your sternum. And this can be from knees or from feet. It's gonna be harder from feet, so if you're unsure, start with knees. So get that triangle, put it right underneath your chest, and then come on up into a plank position with feet pretty wide. So either from feet, or if you're going from knees, that's gonna look like this. Start with those feet pretty wide, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick one hand up off the ground, and we're gonna touch the same side hip, and then go back down. And then the other side. But the goal here is to make sure we don't get a lot of shifting from side to side. So we wanna keep everything really stable. So let's see if you can get between 6 and 8 on each side. I'm gonna demo what from knees looks like. From knees, it looks like this. Same thing, but we're going from our knees. If you're having a hard time, make your feet wider or make your knees wider. Give yourself a little wider base of support. See if you can get that 6 to 8 on each side. This is called an anti-rotation exercise. So it's a kind of a different version of a core exercise. All right, when you finish your 6 or 8, we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you one that's kind of a hard one. Hopefully I don't, sometimes I make a fool of myself and I fall off the ball when I do this one, but I'm gonna show you pike or knee to chest. These ones are pretty challenging, so if you don't feel ready for this, then you can go ahead and stick with our dead bug or our baby star, front plank, side plank. But if you wanna do this one, feet are gonna be on the physio ball. And from here, what a pike looks like is my hips are just gonna go straight up into the air. So just straight up like that, and then back down, straight up, back down, straight up, back down. Another version of this is just knees to chest, like this. Trying to keep that upper body stable and just moving those knees. So go ahead and give those a try. So again, pike would look like this. So hips straight up, back down, up and back down, or you can go knees to chest. These are a little bit different because we're keeping our upper body rooted to the ground and then the lower body is moving. So give that one a try. This one again is pretty tough, but it helps to work on that lower part of the ab, which oftentimes gets neglected. So this is a really good one to mix in if you can do that. All right, last core one that we are gonna work on is we're gonna go back to our dead bug and we're gonna add some legs to this one. So flip to your back and we're gonna put that ball between the fronts of our legs and the backs of our arms. And from here, again, before we do anything, toes up in dorsiflexion, squeeze together between your knees and your arms. Back is flat, so I'm thinking about pushing my belly button and my back towards the ground. Get that back flat. Let's hold here for about 10 seconds just to get those abs engaged and firing. Remind yourself to keep breathing. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add legs. So if this is enough for you, you can just hold here,
or just do the arms like we did. If you feel ready to add legs, we're going to go opposite arm, opposite leg. So again, mimicking our running mechanics. So I'm going to go right arm, left leg, extending out, and then back in, squeezing together, and then other side. Make sure you stay in a range of motion that you can keep that back flat. So for some of us, that means we're just going to keep it really small like this. And that's okay to start there. For others of us, maybe we're going to go a little bit further out, but really try to focus on keeping that back flat, keep those abs engaged. Let's see if you can get a few more on each side. Squeeze together with the elbow and knee that are connected with the ball. We should really be feeling those abs working at this point. All right, once you get your 6 or 8 or you hit your fatigue point, then you can come on down. We're going to do one more round of our baby star. So when you're ready, flip to your side. Baby star, we are going to get our straight line again. So bend those knees to 90 degrees, knees, hips, shoulders in a straight line. Come on up into your side plank. Make sure those hips are forward. Raise that top leg up off the ground and then push it back behind you a little bit so we feel that gluteus medius and the lateral part of our abs working. We're going to go for about 30 seconds. If you want to challenge it a little more, I'm going to grab my can of black beans right here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of arm movement. That just makes me stabilize a little bit more. You can do that with nothing in your hand, or you can just hold. So we're just adding a little bit, just challenging that stability a little bit more. Okay, we've got about 10 seconds. Keep those hips up and forward. All right, when you're ready, come on down, switch sides. So same thing on the other side. Bend those knees to 90 degrees, knees, hips, shoulders in a straight line. Come on up, raise that top leg off the ground, and then push it back behind you a little bit so I feel that gluteus medius working. We're gonna again go 30 seconds. I'm gonna add a little bit of arm movement, but that's optional. Remind yourself as you do this to keep those hips forward. Keep breathing. We've got about 15 seconds. Second side is always harder, so just keep working, you're doing great. Less than 10 seconds to go. All right, come on down. Grab a quick drink of water. So we're gonna call that our thorough warm up with lots of hip and lots of core incorporated in. We are at about 5:40, so from here we're gonna go into a little circuit. Different classes will do it differently. So grab a drink of water. If anyone has questions on things we just did, take a second and type those into the chat. So type your questions in. If you don't have questions, we're gonna move into our circuit. I'm just gonna demo each of our exercises for you. So just be watching while you grab a drink of water. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit. I see some, it burns so good, love it. Yes, I agree, it does burn so good. Okay, our first exercise is a split squat. Probably a lot of you have done a split squat before. What this is foot is gonna be elevated back behind you. We're gonna kind of hop our way out. Front leg is doing all the work. We're gonna go into a little squat or lunge and then come back up. And I want you to think about keeping chest and belly button facing forward. The other thing that sometimes people don't realize is it's okay to let your chest come down. You want to sit into that hip. So we might not be staying straight up. What that looks like from the side, see if I can do this, is like this. From the side, you can see, as I go down, my chest is going to kind of come towards my thigh and my knees staying back behind my toes. So if I try to stay up like this, I don't really have the mobility to do it, so it just goes into my back and into my quad. So as I go down, I want to sit into my hip so that when I push through the ground and come up, my hip is doing a lot of the work. So we want to create a little bit of that angle or a hip hinge as I would describe it. So that's our split squat. Second one is going to be stir the pot or a tripod plank. So stir the pot. That's just gonna be a plank on our physio ball, and then we're gonna do little circles like this, like we're stirring a cauldron. If you don't have a physio ball, then you're gonna do our tripod plank, which was the one with the diamond under our chest. Third one, single leg sit to stand. This one sounds simple, but it's hard. You're gonna sit, if you wanna try this with me, go ahead. So you're gonna sit, you can just sit on your couch or chair or whatever you've got. And you're just gonna pick one foot to start on. You're gonna lean forward, push through that foot, and then stand up. Single leg. You're also gonna lower down nice and controlled, like I'm just trying to touch my butt to that seat. So try not to plop down at the end, trying to be controlled. As we do this one, if you need a little help, sometimes I use my other foot as like, I call it a kickstand. It just helps me a little bit to stay controlled. If you can do it without that, great. But if you need a little help to get started, then it can just help you to start. So that's our single leg sit to stand. Next, we're gonna do a round of push-ups just to balance it out. For those push-ups, I want you to see if you can keep your elbows in for your push-ups. Because when we run, most of us, at least for me, I'm bad and I get my elbows out like this, so we're gonna practice keeping our elbows in. So push-ups with elbows in, that can be from feet or from knees. And then the last one we're gonna do is this long complex that I'm gonna talk you through as we go. So we're gonna try and make it through 2 rounds of this, and I'm just gonna talk you through, we're shooting for 8 to 12. In a normal strength class, I would probably be going for time, like 30 seconds, but just to make sure we're doing things well, we're gonna go for repetitions. So let's go ahead and start with our split squat. If you feel good with a split squat, you can also add a weight. So if you want to, you can grab a weight and you can just hold it here like a little goblet in front. That's an option as well. So split squat, and that foot can just be on a couch or a chair or whatever behind you. So back foot is elevated, hop your way out. We're gonna shoot for 8 to 12, so go ahead and start whenever you're ready. I want you to really think about sitting into that hip and then pushing through that front leg to come up. The back leg should be doing almost zero work. So we should not be pushing through the back leg. It's just kind of back there floating. So if you feel yourself kicking through that back leg, try not to do that. Try and focus on just pushing through that front leg to come up. We should feel hip and quad both working. This is really good for just any form of running, but especially for if we're trying to run uphill, we need to get that combination of glute and quad working together. So shoot for 8 to 12. To make it harder, you can add weight, you can go deeper, or you can start to go a little bit faster, but only if you have good mechanics going. Once you get your 8 to 12, then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So I'm gonna come on up and switch sides. If you have a couple more to do, feel free to do that. So other side, back foot is up behind me. That foot can either be toe down or kind of bottom of the foot on your box, whatever you prefer. Belly button and chest facing forward, hips facing forward. And then we're gonna do same thing on this side. Think about sitting into that hip and then pushing through the foot that's on the ground to come up. Remember that it's okay to let your chest come towards your thigh as you go down. You don't need to exaggerate that, just whatever feels natural there as that hip goes down and back. Remember to push through that foot that's on the ground. Back leg should be doing almost no work. 8 to 12. If you finished your 8 to 12, you can grab a quick drink of water, or you can grab your physio ball. So I'm gonna come on up, shake it out a little bit. We're gonna go into our stir the pot. Or if you don't have a physio ball, you're gonna do your tripod plank with that diamond under your chest. If you have a physio ball, plank on your physio ball. Make sure your hips aren't dropped too low. If anything, I would rather your hips be too high. And from here, I want you to go 6 circles in each direction. Start really small. So for some of us, maybe that's just holding in a plank. That's okay too. But see if you can get a little bit of movement. Hips are staying right where they are. We're just moving our arms. So about 6 to 8 each direction. You can switch on your own timing. This is another anti-rotational core exercise, kind of like our tripod plank. Just a different way to work on that. So 6 or 8 each direction. Make sure those hips aren't dropping. Keep those hips up. And when you're done, you're going to come up and find your sitting position, and we're going to do our single leg sit to stand. So I'm going to find my way to my seat. Again, this could just be sitting on your couch or a chair. From here, pick your best leg to start with. I'm going to pick my right leg because it's my better leg. So from here, lean forward a little bit, put your weight over that leg, push through the foot that's on the ground, and then just stand up. Get balanced at the top, and then lower yourself back down by pushing your hips back, like you're just going to sit that butt down back onto your seat. Let's see if we can get 6 or 8 of those. These can be really challenging, and if you're having a hard time at the bottom, maybe you want to pick a little bit higher chair to start with. And remember, you can use that other leg as a little kickstand to help you at the bottom. This one's always tough. So shooting for 6 to 8. Really think about, as you go back down, nice and controlled, push that butt back and sit down. And then push through that foot to come up. As you can see, when I'm not doing a good job, sometimes I have this point where my knee wants to come in. We don't want that to happen. That's controlled by our hip. We want to make sure that knee stays in line. So if you're finding that happening, really focus on keeping that knee out and being controlled all the way down. So 6 or 8. And then when you're ready, you can switch sides. I'm going to stand up, shake it out a little bit, and then switch to my other side. So again, on that other side, this is my bad side, so I know for me, sometimes I have to use a little extra kickstand with that foot. So from here, I'm going to lean forward, put my weight over that foot, push through that foot that's on the ground, and then come up nice and controlled. Pause at the top, get my balance, and then push that hip down and back as I sit down as controlled as I can. Same thing, lean forward, push through that foot, come on up. And as you can see, I'm using my little kickstand at the bottom on this side because I have some weakness on this side. So 6 to 8, try to be as controlled as you can. When you come up, try and keep those toes up in dorsiflexion. I call that running position. A lot of our exercises will try to end in good running position with chest up and forward, knee up, toes up. So 6 to 8, really controlled. If you find that you're not, if you find you've hit your fatigue point, feel free to take a break or to add a little bit of assistance. Maybe that means a hand on your couch or on the table to help a little bit. All right, finish out your set somewhere between 6 and 8, and then we're going to do 1 round of push-ups. Those push-ups can be anywhere from 2 to 12, whatever you want. 2 to 12 push-ups from knees or feet. I'm going to just go ahead and do mine. Do yours on your own timing. See if you can keep those elbows in. Ready? Here we go, whenever you're ready. When you finish your round of push-ups, take your time. If you're on a roll and you want to do more, feel free to finish that out. The last exercise in our circuit before we try and make it through 1 more round is a complex. For this complex, if you have a little weight, go ahead and grab that, or if you have your can of black beans or veggies, feel free to grab that. If you don't, just pretend like you're holding something. Let's put that weight or pretend weight in our left hand. And this complex is basically going to be several different movements all in a row. And I'm going to give you cues and talk you through the whole thing. This is a series of exercises that help us with balance, stability, and control that translate well to running. So just follow along with me. You might want to have something to put your hand on because this is a challenging balance exercise. So from here, weight is in our left hand. We're on our right foot. We're balancing on our right foot. We're going to hinge forward into that kind of hinged position that we've done before. From here, we're gonna row. So do a little row, come back down. Then we're gonna come up and through. So up and through to here. This is what I call good running position. So my toes are up, my knee is up, my chest is up and forward. And then from here, we're gonna go backwards lunge. So I'm gonna go backwards lunge and then overhead press. So I'm gonna end, this is also good running position. So that's where we end. That's the whole thing. Let's go back to the beginning. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Two more, hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Last one, hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press, and hold there. I want you to hold, push through that foot that's on the ground. We should feel the right hip working. Keep that knee up, toe up, chest up and forward, so we're not sitting back and down. We want to be up and forward. All right, come on down. Shake it out a little bit. We're gonna switch sides. Put that weight in your right hand. We're gonna balance on our left foot this time. So when you're ready, we're gonna hinge forward on that left foot, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Two more. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press. Hinge forward, row, up and through, reverse lunge, overhead press, and hold here. Really think about, again, we're not sitting low, we're staying up and tall. Push through that foot that's on the ground, chest is up and forward. All right, come on down, set that weight off to the side. All right, we're at 5:55. We're gonna just do 2 exercises from this circuit one more time before we finish up. We're gonna do one more round of our split squat and one more round of our single leg sit to stand. So find your split squat position. So back leg is up behind you. Hop your way out a little bit. Chest, belly button, hips facing forward. And then we're gonna sit into that. Remember, sit back and down into that hip and then push through that foot to come up. Anywhere between 8 and 12 on your own timing. Try not to push through that back leg. Push through the foot that's on the ground. Let that chest come down towards your thigh a little bit. And as always, you could add a weight in front. Good work, 8 to 12 on your own timing. When you finish your 8 to 12, you can come on up, take a quick drink of water, and then switch to the other side. So I'm gonna come up, shake it out a little bit, switch to that other side. Other foot is up behind me. I'm gonna remind myself to get my hips, my belly button, my chest facing forward, and then sit into that hip. Push through the foot that's on the ground to come up. Remind yourself back leg is doing none of the work. All the work is in the front leg. See if maybe you can go a tiny bit deeper. Really push through that foot that's on the ground to come up. Somewhere between 8 and 12. All right, finish out your set wherever you're at. Last one we're gonna do is our single leg sit to stand. Let's see where we're at. Okay, single leg sit to stand. On your own timing, let's just see if you can get 6 good ones on each side. Then we'll wrap things up. I'll do a little check-in, and then anyone who wants to stay for some stretching at the end, I'll also lead some stretching. So let's go ahead and do 6 on each side of our single leg sit to stand. So pick one foot, lean forward, push through that foot that's on the ground to come on up. As you lower down, push your hip back and just gently sit down onto that chair. Nice and controlled, whatever pace feels like you can do it in a controlled way is what we want to do. Good work, and remember you can use that bottom leg as a little help, as a little kickstand, or you can go from a little bit higher chair if you need to. Okay, I think I've gotten my 6. If you're still working, feel free to keep working. I'm gonna switch sides. So on that other side, I'm gonna shift my weight onto that foot, lean forward, push through the foot that's on the ground to come up. As I lower down, I'm gonna push that hip back. As we do this, think about that same good running position. Toe stays up, knee is up. Getting a good hinge at that hip, so we should feel our hip pushing back behind us, and glute and quad are both helping to bring us up. So you finish out your 6 on your own timing, and I'm just gonna start to kind of wrap things up. Ty can chime in if he wants to. So that's it. We're at about our hour of time. So from there, if you want to go through any of those exercises a second time, feel free to. The push-ups, the stir the pot that we did. But we are going to send this video out after class. For those of you who are signed up for the whole 6 weeks, we'll send you the Zoom link again so that you can come same time, same thing next week. We'll mix things up a little bit. We'll add some new things. And if any of you are just signed up for tonight and are wanting to join for the rest of it, we'll also send you how to do that. Ty, anything to add before we wrap up and let people go if they want to?
Yeah, we first of all, thanks, Kimber. That was fantastic. Awesome job. Definitely some sweet burn in there. So I hope you guys all got a lot out of that too. The link is just chosky.run/HHH for happy healthy holiday. That's the name of our strength series. So if you do want to sign up for the whole thing, it's only $30 for the whole series of classes. You can do that. Only takes a second. I'll also put the link in the chat and we'll email it out afterwards with the link to sign up. So if you're not signed up and you loved it, which hopefully you did, definitely feel free to do that. Give yourself a little holiday treat, something to keep you motivated these dark and cold nights here. So yeah, take a look for that, and just props to Kimber. She really put this together and did all the legwork. So thank you so much for leading this. I know I got a lot of it. I hope you guys all did too. So thank you. Please, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, put them in the chat. Send them to us in an email. Either way, I'm just Ty@chosky.run, and Kimber is just Kimber@chosky.run. So definitely feel free to reach out to us individually as well as just in the chat here.
Yeah, and a couple more things. If you are joining for the whole series, get one of these bands. This is going to be like one of our best friends. It's going to make our booties really strong. So get one of these. If you aren't sure, I'll send a link of the ones that I normally order in the email. But green or blue is usually the color that most of us need. Different brands are a little bit different. Also keep in mind that I'll ask you in the next class, I'll ask you for some feedback about what are you hoping to get out of class. And so if people are wanting it to be more fast-paced and get heart rates up, we can also do it circuit style. So just know that this was just one way that we may do it, but we may change it up a little bit to meet kind of what your goals are. All right, so Ty is welcome to chime in at any point, but what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna start taking you through some like kind of yoga style stretching, things that are, again, good for you to incorporate anytime after a run. But feel free to head out at any point. So if it's the end of your day, it's time to go eat dinner, just head out whenever. If you want to hang around for stretching, then just find your way onto the floor or onto your yoga mat, and we'll start on our back. So just find a comfy spot on the ground, on your back there. All right. So find your way to the floor, on the back. Let's have both of our knees into our chest. Try and relax. Go ahead and close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. From here, you might want to rock from left to right. Just notice where you might have some tight spots, maybe some places that we want to loosen up before you go. So just take a couple of deep breaths there, eyes closed. From here, let's keep our right knee hugging in, and we're going to send our left leg long. Reach that left leg really long, hug that right knee in, rock the right leg back and forth from left to right. And then from there, pass that knee into your left hand. Bring that left knee across towards your left hip. We're going to get a little stretch on the outside here. Again, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. When you're ready, come back to center. Give that shin a little squeeze in towards your chest, and then hands come to the back of your hamstring. We're going to go into a little hamstring stretch here. So toes are going to come up towards that left shoulder. We're just going to go in and out. So I call this a nerve glide. So this is not one that we really want to hold. We just want to move in and out. We're kind of getting a little fascia and nerve glide happening here. So just in and out, maybe point those toes in a little bit different direction each time. You might feel that stretch or that pull in a little bit different line, which is good. Let's just spend a little bit more time here. And then from there, right ankle is going to come to your left knee. So left foot on the ground, right ankle on that left knee. This is going to be a figure four. So you can either stay here if this is enough of a stretch, or you're going to reach through, grab the back of your left hamstring, pull that left leg in towards your chest, and then use your elbow to push that right knee away. I like to even tip my whole body a little bit towards the left. And just find a spot where you get a good stretch on the outside of that right hip. Let's close our eyes and take a few deep breaths here. All right, come back through center, hug both knees in. We're gonna switch sides. Maybe just notice, ooh, that right side feels more loose now to me than my left side. So I'm gonna keep that left shin hugging in, send that right leg long, reach long with that right leg. Rock that left leg in the socket just a little bit, back and forth, left to right. And then grab that left knee with your right hand, pull that left knee across towards your right hip. Get a little stretch on the outside of that left hip. A couple of breaths here. Come back through center, give that leg a little squeeze into your chest. Hands come to the back of your left hamstring. Same thing on this side. We're just gonna go in and out of that hamstring stretch. Again, just getting that nerve and fascial glide. Maybe point those toes in slightly different directions each time.
when you're ready, left ankle to that right knee, right foot comes to the ground. You can either stay here or hands go to the back of the right hamstring, pull that right leg in, and then use your elbow to push the left knee away. Find a spot where you can get a good stretch on that outer part of the left hip, and close your eyes and take a few deep breaths there. And when you're ready, both feet come to the ground. So feet are about hip width apart, hands out to the side. And we're going to drop both knees to the right. So both knees come to the ground towards that right. Right ankle on top of the left knee is going to pull that left knee towards the ground. You can shift those legs a little bit. The goal here is to find a stretch on the front of the left hip in that TFL area. So once you find that stretch, let's just close our eyes and take a few deep breaths here. A lot of us runners, especially if we also do things like cycling, we get pretty tight TFL or hip flexors, so we want to try and loosen that up a little bit here. If you can, think about sending your breath to the front of that left hip. That just kind of helps us kind of move the fascia in a different way. So send that breath to the front of your left hip. And when you're ready, we'll switch sides. So bring those feet back to the ground. Send both of your knees over to the left ankle on top of the right knee, pulling that right knee towards the ground. Again, shift those legs a little bit until you find that stretch. Here we're looking for the right hip, that TFL area on the right side. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. All right, when you're ready, come back through center, hug those knees in one more time, and then we're gonna flip over to our front. We're gonna go to downward dog. So from here, just tuck those toes, come on up. We're just gonna shift that weight back and forth, left to right. Get a little lower leg calf stretch here. And then let's go ahead and put that weight equally on both sides. You can keep a bend in the knees. And we're gonna come up high on the toes. Push your chest back between your arms and then drop your heels low. That's going to give us an even deeper stretch in that lower leg calf, the gastroc and the soleus. Again, come up high on your toes, push your chest back, drop your heels low. And one more time, come up high on your toes, push your chest back, drop your heels low. And then when you're ready, your right leg is going to come through. We're going to go into a high lunge. So right foot comes to the ground and just come on up to standing. From here, see if you can straighten out that back leg as much as you can. And then if you feel good, you can drop a little lower. We're just trying to get a stretch down the front of that left hip. If you want to reach with the left arm, that left arm could reach straight up or up and over. And these are all great stretches that you could mix in after a run. Hip flexors are especially something that most runners need to work on in terms of mobility. A couple more breaths here. If you feel like you can drop a little lower, you can do that. And when you're ready, let's drop down, let that left knee come to the ground, and we're gonna tuck our pelvis up and under, and then shift forward just a tiny bit until you get another stretch down the front of that left hip. Trying to get a stretch of that psoas, iliacus. You might get a little bit of TFL or adductor with this as well, but really trying to get that psoas. Trying to keep that pelvis tucked up and under. And again, if you want to add a reach, you can reach straight up or up and over. And when you're ready, let's walk that foot out to about 45 degrees. And then we're going to shift our hips forward and down towards that front foot. That's going to move the stretch more kind of towards the inside, the groin, the adductors area. From here, with each exhale, see if you can just sink a little deeper into that stretch. One more big deep breath, and then we're going to switch sides. When you're ready, walk that foot back in, and we'll just go back through downward dog to switch sides. So come on up, shift that weight back and forth, and then we're going to bring our left leg through this time. So left leg comes through into our high lunge. So come on up to standing. Try and make sure hips and chest are facing forward. Straighten out that back leg as much as you can. And then you can either stay there or you can drop a little bit lower, trying to find that stretch on the front of the right hip. If you want to add a reach, that reach could either be straight up with your right arm or up and over. When you're ready, let's drop that right knee to the ground. So from here again, tuck that pelvis up and under, and then just gently shift yourself forward a little bit. If you want to reach up and over, you can do that as well. Get a few breaths here. And when you're ready, let's walk that foot out to about 45 degrees. And again, shift those hips forward and down. Try and make sure that that knee is kind of staying out. With each exhale, see if you can sink just a little bit deeper. All right, when you're ready, the last one that I'm going to finish up with is a single leg pigeon. This is a pretty deep outer hip stretch. So if this is too much for you, you can go back to that one we did on our back, which was the figure 4, or you can end in any other stretch that you'd like. But if you can handle a single leg pigeon, we're just going to come up and through, and then that right shin is going to come through and kind of right down in front of us, and then we're going to sit down onto our hip. Try and make sure that your foot stays in dorsiflexion, so toes towards your shin. That helps protect your knee. From here, you can either stay up tall, you can do some little presses up and down, or you can lower yourself down onto forearms, or even all the way to the ground. Find a spot, and we'll spend just a few breaths here. Try and really relax into this with each exhale, just trying to release a little bit more tension of that outer hip. And then I want you to just walk your hands just one little step to the right. That's usually going to find a different spot that needs a little stretch. So just take one little walk to the right with your hands, kind of moving your chest a little further to the right. And we'll spend just a few more breaths here. All right, when you're ready, ease your way out nice and gentle and slow, and we'll switch sides. So when you're ready, we're gonna bring that left shin through this time. So left shin's gonna come through. We're gonna keep that ankle in dorsiflexion and gently lower ourselves down. Pay attention, this side might be the same as the other side. It might be tighter than the other side. So find your way, either staying up tall, doing some little presses, maybe lowering down onto shins, onto forearms, or all the way down. Eyes closed, a few deep breaths. And just like the other side, see if you can take one little step to the left with your arms and your chest. Find one other spot that needs a little work. Take a couple of breaths there. All right, I'm going to ease my way out. You're welcome to stay in that position as long as you want, or you can add some other stretches, but that's where we will wrap things up. So feel free to continue stretching or whatever you'd like. I'll stay on here for a little bit longer. So if anyone has questions, any things they want me to go over again, feel free to type those into the chat. But otherwise, thank you, and we will hopefully see you next Wednesday. So yeah, thanks for joining us.